All right, so next we need to move into cleaning up the hair a little bit. We've got this beautiful edge, but inside there's a lot of crosshairs and some chunky business in there that we'd like to be able to smooth out, definitely. And I'm going to show you some variations of traditional methods that you can use to get really quick results. It's going to build upon your experience and your skills now that you have with hand painting. And it's also going to use our FS 2.0 system. Once again, it's just a couple changes to traditional frequency separation that really tremendously expand its capabilities, effectiveness, and quality. So we'll show you that in order to create smoother strands and volumes of hair. And we're going to do a little bit of cleanup. So let's take a look. Let's zoom into the image, see what we're working with. Tons of crosshairs, really thick ones. And also, like, the hair is very coarse, so there's a lot of, like mountains and valleys in it, which that's good. That's good. We love dimension and whatnot, but it could certainly get tamed down a bit. I know right now from experience that I don't want to mess around with the composite pixels of the image. I want to work within a frequency separated stack, which is going to give me a ton of flexibility. First, I'm going to just name this D fringe because that was our D fringe layer, so I'm not confused. And I'm going to merge those layers holding Shift-Alt-Option to stamp them both up to a new layer because I need to run my separation on all the pixels that we have within this group. I'm going to run my frequency separation. Magically comes up. And what do we use for median? Always the question. It's nice to go back and forth using preview. That looks pretty good. So here's what I'm looking for. I would like most of those crosshairs to completely go away, which they do. This one might take a little bit of a swipe on the low just to get rid of the remnant of information in there. But pretty good overall. That's kind of as far as I want to go. You want to always go just far enough to wipe most of the information that you're trying to target. Additionally, look what's on the low in here. So when you have this high component in there, it's really hard to see the forest from the trees, but we can peel that back and look underneath the hood. There's a bunch of chunky information in here. You see how clumpy a lot of this stuff is. Now, I know to create really smooth, beautiful hair, I'd like that to be gone. I'd like that to be smoother. I'd like it to be more uniform. So this is good, keeping this on the low, because I know that I can manipulate the low in a way that is really easy, and having the high still on top really allows me to work quickly and flexibly without that work being visible to the viewer, because the high is covering that with all the strand detail. You'll see what I mean. So I'm going to separate it. I'm going to separate at 5. I mean, the lower that I can go to do what I need to do, the better in this case. Great. So I want to deal with some smoothing first. Some smoothing of the hair. Where can we make some progress? Now, I could use, I need to be on my brush and mixer brush. Magic mixer brush. This is what makes FS 2.0 so powerful, really. The median, but more so the tool that we use to manipulate the low. It's mixer brush. It's pretty amazing. Now everything's cranked up to the top, I could go in there and just start smoothing this stuff. But I don't know, that looks a little bit too mushy and uniform. I don't know, a little bit. So I found that sometimes this hairbrush that I made, it's called the Eartho hairbrush. With respect to my good friend Earth Oliver, who helped me develop this brush. It's pretty simple, it's just a bunch of strands together. But what these strands do is allow us to smooth things along here with a certain amount of a light touch. And it sort of mimics the strands of hair. Now it's getting soft, I know it's getting soft, but look how it's taken the clumpiness out. There's a little bit of softness in there that's sort of a telltale sign of separation. Don't worry so much about that as long as you're keeping it under control and you're not going crazy, just smushing the entire low. This stuff is barely noticeable, and somebody who doesn't know what's going on, is not watching you work, is totally not going to recognize this stuff. We're just smoothing it out. I can work with the high layer still on, and we're just getting rid of just a little bit of the chunk, the detail that we don't want, just smoothing it out a bit. Because you can't really see it until I turn it on and off, but there's a lot of unwanted variation in this hair up here. And we can see this. Let me turn it on and off. See that chunk? Smooth. Chunk, smooth. So work with the high on or off depending on what you feel like doing, what you feel most comfortable with. Now the thing about this brush, you can't really see it because it's so fine. Let me see if I bring it up, if you can see it. This is what the brush is. It's just a bunch of specks. I mean, if I, let's see what happens if I move it like this. So you can see how, let's do that one more time. You can see how it's dragging the hair information. And once again, the magic of mixer brush, it's mixing the existing pixels. That's why we like it so much. It's not painting over pixels. It's using the information that's there. This brush has a lot of different applications, and smoothing hair is one of the most effective uses for the brush. So let's just take a step back. I mean, I could smooth the hair for days. You want to be careful not to overdo it. But let's zoom in. That's a pretty substantial improvement in the quality and the volume of the hair. And you see how you continue with that method, you're going to be able to really create a nice flowing contour in the hair. And that's because you've done your separation right. That's what allows that to happen so nicely. There's a lot of controversy around frequency separation out there. For instance, my friend Natalia would probably punch me in the face if she saw me doing this right now, but you can do it. The proof is there. A lot of people are going to tell you that that doesn't work, but what you need to do is test these methods for yourself and see what works with FS 2.0 and what doesn't. I'll tell you what, a lot of stuff works that previously wasn't possible. A, because of the median separation, and B, because the way that we use the mixer brush, we're using the information that's already there, which gives us a huge benefit over traditional methods of painting or healing or even cloning on the low, stuff like that. So be confident with this tool, learn how to use it really well, and it will serve you greatly. Now, the last thing that we need to do, which is no surprise, is use the stamp tool to clean up any crosshairs. Now, we've already seen this at work. I'm not going to demo this too deeply, but you can see how once we free the high information from the low, we are able to clone with relative impunity. If I was doing this on the composite pixel layer, it would be very painful. Remember to sample from the areas of hair that are going in a similar direction to where you're cloning into. Once again, you don't have to be really careful with this if you have the right kind of hair. Now, one more thing. We don't want to be stuck with the hair that we have in the image. We want to, once again, create the hair that we want. So in the same way that we used the hand painting technique on the outside of the hair for the edge, I'm going to show you how to use that inside the hair, and it works really, really well because we're going to be painting with it underneath the high layer, which is going to give you even more flexibility as to how fast and accurately we can create new hair where we need it. So I'm going to create a new layer called hair. Bring up my regular brush, get off mixer brush. I'm still at a 2 pixel size. I think that should be okay. So this area here, I think I can do a lot better. Fill that in. It looks a little broken there. So I'm going to sample. Remember, I'm painting on the low. I'm going to make sure my sample size is 5 by 5, current and below. And I'm going to sample some of the colors in here, because I want to create new hair. It's just like that. Now, that's pretty magical. But it's creating kind of a base. I want to get a highlight in there too. So I'm just going to choose a brighter color. Paint on top of that. Yeah, that's like so easy to do. That takes, I mean, there's not a lot of precision involved in that. And so I'm just filling out these areas where I see these like highlights. You can also do that with just the more muted colors to fill in and add some volume. Connect clumps of hair, fill them in a bit. Create new areas where the light is catching a bit more. But let's take a look at that. I mean, that was just a couple minutes, and I'll zoom in more so we can see all the changes. Now you see, by going through the entire hair mass, just using these 3 basic methods, we can create a lot of extra volume and smoothness in the hair in a really, really short amount of time.